Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another weather forecast here by Asian Weather Forecast. And as you guessed, this will be another tropical outlook and discussion here for the North Atlantic, as I'll be talking about June, as it's a very, very active start at the moment, as we do have now Tropical Storm Bill and to invest 192L, as well other one is 94L. But before we get the video, I would recommend you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon, and like button. But without further ado, let's get into the tropical forecast. Alright, so let's go ahead and get a look here at the North Atlantic tropical weather outlook here according to the National Hurricane Center. So here we have Tropical Storm Bill, which did form yesterday. So we do finally have letter B here after a long wait since we got letter A. So this is actually a pretty strong tropical storm here, sitting at 60 miles an hour and a minimal center pressure at 998 millibars. And this thing is moving northeast at 38 miles an hour. So due to this moving up the jet stream here, that jet stream from picking the storm up in the northwest Atlantic, this storm is going to be going at a lot of a faster rate. And due to this fast rate of movement, this will definitely become extra tropical by today or not tomorrow morning here, because it's going to be really all the way over here by the end of today here, because it's going to be moving such a fast rate into those cold waters. And as well, once we get into the areas just north of Nova Scotia, we're going to be seeing a ton of shear. Let's go ahead and get a look here at Invest 92L. Now it is 70% still for the next 5 days, and then 20% for the next 48 hours. So we still do have these disorganized thunderstorms within that trough in the Bay of Campeche, and gradual development is likely. And then Invest 94L still only has decreased to a 10% for the next 5 days, which I'm not really sure exactly why, because conditions are still very, very favorable in the region, but we will have to keep a close eye on it for the next few updates here. But let's go ahead and get a look at the models. So here's looking now at the global GFS 12Z. So as you do see, we do have within the next 3 hours, Tropical Storm Bill being at 1,000 wind and millibars. So as it says, move rapidly at 38 miles an hour to the northeast. This storm will be going to some really cold waters that the Gulf Stream will not be warming up too much. So in the next 3 hours, GFSs have this weakening to 1,001 millibars, and then gradually getting to extra tropical within the next 15 hours or so. As we now look here, now after Bill, we're going to be looking out for the Bay of Campeche and a little bit in the MDR, even though the GFS does not show this being a system anymore in the MDR. You can kind of still see we do have that moisture wave right here. We still have that moisture there. However, the GFS does not have it forming whatsoever. But there you see, watching for the Bay of Campeche, by around the 17th and 18th, we do have this being possibly tropical depression or a very low-end tropical storm at 1,005 millibars. And then the GFS does take this at 1,003 millibars and 1,002 millibars, making landfall right near the Texas and Louisiana border. But like I did say, the GFS is really not showing the MDR system anymore. That could be reason why it's minimum or its maximum 10%. But still, the conditions are very, very favorable, which is why I'm still keeping a close eye on it, because typically you don't see MDR conditions so favorable in June. So which is why I'm thinking this storm can very well take advantage of it, or this Invest can take advantage of it. Here's looking now at the Canadian. So there we have Storm Bill in the next 3 hours. So in the next 6 or 12 hours, it's going to be really well extra tropical. Let's not go ahead and get a look at the Bay of Campeche, though. So there we have that low, and obviously most likely going to be Claudette making landfall there at Louisiana. They do have it around 1,006 millibars. So going to keep a very, very close eye on that for the Bay of Campeche. But even the even the Canadian is not really showing that tropical system either. I mean, they did have a low pressure, but very, very weak. But I mean, neither model does have this anymore. Let's not go ahead and get a look here at the vorticity. So we do still have some decent vorticity for Tropical Storm Bill, and we still have vorticity within Invest 94L. The thing is, why does it all of a sudden not show up in the GFS and Canadian? So we still do have a decent vorticity signature with 94L. There's that vorticity signature for Tropical Storm Bill, and there is that vorticity right there for Invest 92L. So as we go later on the day, that vorticity will kind of fall apart and become disorganized once we get later today, and that vorticity there for 94L does become more widespread, but a lot less strong and a lot less tight. But I'm still really want to keep a close eye on the MDR region, because although GFS and CMC don't show anymore, and the National Hurricane Center has taken it down 10% for the 5-day outlook or 5-day probability, I'm still going to keep a close eye on it, because the conditions are just too good for this not to be anything but let's just keep a close eye on it. There's that vorticity though for the GFS right there. They're on the 18th, and then make a landfall around the 19th there. Let's now go ahead and get a look here at the general conditions here, including the SSTs, moisture, and shear, so we can get a better look at whether Invest 92L will thrive or whether the MDR one can possibly form within those conditions. So that's exactly what we're going to go ahead and get a look at these conditions. So here's looking at the current SSTs we have right now. So look at the Gulf of Mexico though. I mean, Gulf of Mexico seeing up to nearly 30 degrees Celsius down there in the southeastern portion there near Cuba, outside the Yucatan Peninsula. But right now, the waters are extremely warm around the Gulf of Mexico. And look at the Bay of Campeche. That's exactly where Invest 92L is right now, kind of hovering over the coast of the Bay of Campeche. There is going to be some land interaction, but most likely within the next 24 hours, this will be fully into the waters, which will allow this to be into a strengthening trend. So we're not going to be seeing this forming anytime soon. But look at the waters, the really, really warm waters right now in the Gulf of Mexico. There's no question that this thing does not have favorable conditions. The MDR, on the other hand, so this is exactly where Invest 94L right now, it's sitting perfectly in place with the warmest waters in the MDR, seeing anywhere from 28.5 to possibly 29.5 degrees Celsius. So right now, we're seeing pretty above average temperatures right now for the southern MDR and portions of northwestern Africa. So really keeping a close eye on this, although we still only have a 10% for 5 days. The condition water-wise and SST-wise are very, very good. Even if it goes all the way out here in the middle of the MDR, it still has warmer waters up to 28 degrees Celsius. So this still has a really good path ahead of it SST-wise. I mean, typically MDR waters are not this warm this time of the year, but actually right now they are pretty darn warm. So SSTs has been checked for both 92L and 94L condition-wise. Let's not go ahead and get a look here and look at the shear. So you're probably wondering, oh, maybe there's shear or dry air in the MDR. That's why it decreased. Well, look at this. Right now, this low pressure is kind of right here. And there's basically no shear. There's a huge bubble, really no shear, maybe 10 to 15 knots max. We do have a really small pocket right now. That's probably why Invest 92L is falling apart, because that shear has moved a lot more to the south than expected. But don't worry, that will die out in around 21 hours. So Invest 92L can thrive once again. So that's really why that convection kind of fell apart, and that it's really open right now, because that shear did dip a lot more to the south and Bay of Campeche than expected. And as well, that allowed that low pressure to kind of make land interaction effects with Mexico, so that low pressure in general is really all over the place. But things should get better condition wise. The low pressure will move further into the waters, and the shear will kind of decrease. But look at the shear and the MDR. I mean, it just gets better and better. There's really a massive bubble with basically anything less than 15 knots to 0 knots. So the shear is not going to be a problem. If there's very little shear, you know what that means. Very little SAL, meaning very little dry air. Even as we go into the 17th, look at how little shear this is. This is, you know how rare this is to see in early to mid-June, the MDR having so little shear. I mean, this is something you don't typically see whatsoever. This is exactly why I'm keeping a very close eye on it, because this is just too good to be true. This is too good condition-wise to be true that this does not form into a depression or somewhat like that. I mean, look at the 19th. This thing clears even more. I mean, this is absolutely beautiful for tropical systems in the MDR. There's literally no shear from Africa all the way up to the Lesser Antilles. Do you understand how beautiful that is for a tropical system or a low pressure? So I'm just saying, there is no shear in this whole path for this system, from Africa all the way up to the into the Lesser Antilles. So I'm not sure why the National Hurricane Center is decreasing probability. I know it has lost a ton of convection throughout the dural minimum, but still, I mean, this is absolutely perfect for a tropical system. I mean, this is literally like heaven for a low pressure that wants to form into something, because typically the MDR, it may have a small pocket with no shear, but there's never a pocket this large with less than 15 knots. So I mean, this is absolutely beautiful, and this is going to be a pretty big concern if this continues. This trending of no shear in the MDR, if this continues into July, and this monsoon season strengthens in July, we're talking a pretty big concerning MDR throughout late June into much of July, which I have stressed multiple times in my videos. But as well, you can kind of see, look, that shear really decreases though overall. In the Gulf of Mexico, by the 18th, you see very little shear. So shear as well checked off the mark for 92 and 94L. There's some really warm SSTs, and there is absolutely no shear for these areas. I mean, there's actually more shear for 92L than for 94L. So, I mean, we have SSTs good, shear very good. There's absolutely almost no shear. So, I mean, we have two checks marked. Let's not go ahead and look at the moisture though. So there must be dry air that's preventing this from forming 94L. Well, there's absolutely no dry air whatsoever. Actually, we have the complete opposite. We have a massive tropical moisture wave here, actually, thanks to the monsoon season. So I'm not sure why the National Weather Center has a lower confidence today, but we will continue to keep a close eye on it. But there is a ton of moisture coming off Central America for the Bay of Campeche. That's going to be allowing for better conditions to see 92L form. Look at the 17th there. I mean, look at these moisture waves. Here we got 94L, and then we got 92L. I mean, this you're not telling me that 94L cannot form this. I mean, there's very, very good conditions to really have this form or become a depression or something. So we are just keeping a very, very, very close eye on this right now. So, I mean, I'm going to keep a very close eye on this moisture because there is a ton of moisture. There's very warm SSTs and very little shear. So we have three conditions checked off the we have three conditions that have been checked. So I mean, why had the National Weather decrease to 10% or the 20% to 10%? I have no idea. I really have no idea, but there's a massive moisture bubble there. So this low pressure may continue to keep something very interesting here. I mean, we do still have an area of low. I mean, look at that moisture bubble though, or that moisture wave for 94 or 92L. That's just absolutely crazy. That's a ton of moisture. And then let's go ahead and get a look here at the SAL. Like I just say, obviously there can still be SAL preventing this. Well, right now, like I just say, this low is kind of right here. So there's all that shear, and all that dust is way to the north. So obviously, since there's a ton of shear kind of this way, kind of going this way to the north, there's going to be a ton of SAL. But none of that SAL is actually affecting the area where that low pressure is. And as we even go further on into the 17th, look how little SAL is there is. This is as well is very, very rare to see. So little SAL in the MDR in June. That's just very, very rare. Remember last year, the exact same time, we had a massive historic SAL wave. Well, this low pressure is going to be right here in the 17th. There is no dry air, no SAL, no shear. I mean, this is just perfect. This is perfect for 94L. Perfect. And I'm not sure why the National is going to decrease the probability. I'm not sure why the confidence has decreased. But either way, there's going to be pretty good conditions for both 92 and 94L. Here's a look now at the IR forecast, or IR, simulated IR for tropical storm. But let's actually go ahead and just look at visible high resolution here, so you can kind of see we do still have that low pressure with the with that counterclockwise spin. You can kind of still see that counterclockwise vorticity. There is still some really good thunderstorms as this does move rapidly, not too far off, maybe a few hundred miles up from Nova Scotia. But I mean, this still does have a pretty decent low pressure. It still does have 60 miles an hour. So this is not looking too shabby whatsoever. Obviously, like I did say, since it is going to be moving into a more unfavorable atmosphere due to it, or actually it's going to be moving to an unfavorable atmosphere no matter what. But it's going to be moving to an unfavorable atmosphere a lot quicker than it would if it were not to go up this east coast because of the jet stream here, making it move a lot quicker. But still has that counterclockwise spin. Still does have some bounding. Obviously, it looked a lot better earlier on a few hours ago. Look at a few hours ago. This thing was a lot better looking. I mean, you have that low pressure right there. You kind of have that convection, counterclockwise convection stretching in and going like that. And then stretching back out kind of that way. So it's exactly kind of why it's very interesting how it looked a lot better last few runs. I mean, there you got that low pressure, and then you as well got kind of that banding kind of going out and stretching out. So either way, the thing did look a lot better early on. It did have a lot of bounding, and you kind of see that kind of clockwise spin was a lot more clear. And then it looks like it's kind of just falling apart here. That structure is really falling apart, and it's kind of just looking like a blob of thunderstorms. Let's now go ahead and get a look here at the National Hurricane Center cone and timing here. So it's actually, the wind field's not too shabby. It's about the size of Connecticut maybe. So the wind field's pretty small, but I mean, consider that it is kind of falling apart right now. So it is supposed to be extratropical by tonight, and that'll continue to make landfall there for portions of, I'm not sure if that's Newfoundland or I know that's Nova Scotia. I think it's at Newfoundland or something. It's gonna make landfall there for Canada as an extratropical storm, so it could still bring us some really windy conditions there for a portion of Canada. So here's looking now at the convection and IR forecast for Invest 92L. So obviously it looked really awful yesterday, but look, this low pressure is kind of now aiming towards the Mexico coast here. So a lot of convection is blowing up as it goes over portions of Mexico. So we're still seeing this strengthening of thunderstorms as well as those really cold cloud tops seeing over a negative 80 degrees Celsius in the higher atmosphere. So either way, we are starting to see some really good convection blowing up here. This low pressure is kind of just off the, it's kind of just off the coast here, but a lot of convection is towards the south. So as it does go into a more favorable atmosphere, as that shear dies off and that low pressure kind of goes deeper into the waters, it's going to look a lot better. But look at the convection right now here, the visible resolution. You kind of still see that low pressure surrounded by those thunderstorms, but we kind of have the most amount of convection towards the southwestern quadrant. But as this goes further to the north, it will look a lot better, trust me. But right now, it looks better than yesterday, but obviously it still looks pretty trash considering that this thing has been an invest for a good bit. But I mean, it's looking like it's gonna start getting better as that shear kind of dies off. So that shear kind of really did open that little pressure up yesterday. Again, you saw almost 40 knots, but as it decreases rapidly, that shear from the bridge, it'll look a lot better. I'm telling you, this will Invest 92L will look a lot better tomorrow. Let's not go ahead and get a look here at the tracks. So as well, you can kind of see they are taking it into Mexico. So obviously, this is going to be hovering between the coast and the waters. So like I did say, this is having land interaction, but it is expected, at least for a few models, to go back to the north here and make landfall across Louisiana, while the non-reliable ones like UK do have this making landfall there and making landfall in Mexico and kind of going to the EPAC, which I really do doubt. I do think this will kind of turn back to the north here, back into the Louisiana region, into the Gulf of Mexico as well. Intensity forecast, confidence for this forming anytime soon has really decreased. Looks like this will maybe form, if anything, in the next 132 hours, which is basically 5 days. So it's basically the 20th, which it's supposed to make landfall on the 19th. So it's very interesting here. But yeah, this is definitely going to be very iffy with the situation. Let's go ahead and get a look here at the 10-meter winds here from the GFS. So these do kind of, there's that low pressure right there, kind of just off the coast of the Bay of Campeche waters. And there you kind of see getting maybe 30 miles an hour, something like that. So it is still kind of really unorganized. You can kind of see it kind of goes into Mexico. And then it comes out the other side, and there you see that low pressure by the 18th. Right there, it's looking like it's going to have a decent wind field with up to possibly 45, maybe even 46 miles an hour. And then it makes landfall. It's possibly Texas and Louisiana as a very weak tropical storm, possibly maybe even a depression as landfall. But either way, this does have a small chance, or it actually has a decent chance to be a tropical storm, maybe even a short-lived tropical storm for a little bit. So here's like now a visible resolution here for Invest 94L. So as you do see, it is very open at the moment. Right now, obviously, it was just in Invest yesterday. It's still at 10% for both 48 hours and 5 days. So obviously, you can't really expect it to look like a beautiful tropical system. But there is definitely some increasing vorticity right here around that low. So we're seeing some strengthening thunderstorms as well as some organized thunderstorms that are looking like they are getting some more structure and cloud tops to this. So we're going to keep a close eye on it because it does look like it's getting a little bit better convection wise. Let's not go ahead and get a look at the tracks. So we have a few models already track wise taking this kind of towards the east here, towards Lesser Antilles and the Western Atlantic. Model intensity guidance does have this land making or not landfall, sorry, becoming a tropical system as early as the next 48 hours or as late as the next 84 hours. So either way, we still have a few models taking this to a to formation. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm hoping to post another video later this afternoon, and I will see you guys later.